Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. The next day, Emma was sitting on her small couch in her cramped apartment, staring at the phone in her hand. She had just come back from a disastrous blind date, where she had mistakenly sat at the wrong table. What made it even more embarrassing was that the man she had talked to for over an hour wasn't the person she thought he was. Her cheeks flushed as she remembered the look on his face when she had rushed out of the restaurant, mortified. The card he had given her was still sitting on the coffee table, its gold lettering catching the light. Liam Parker. She sighed, unsure of what to do with it. What could a man like him possibly see in someone like her? She was just a waitress, trying to make ends meet, nothing like the polished, well-dressed women he must be used to. A knock on the door startled her from her thoughts. She stood up quickly, smoothing down her hair, and opened the door. To her surprise, standing in the hallway was Liam. He looked different now, dressed casually in a black hoodie and jeans, his hair a bit tousled as if he had just rolled out of bed. "Hey, Emma," he said with a soft smile. "I know this is unexpected, but I wanted to apologize for yesterday. I should have told you who I was, but I was curious about you, about the real you." Emma blinked in shock, her mouth opening and closing as she tried to find the right words. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just wanted to explain myself, and maybe, if you're willing, make things right." He paused, his expression serious. "I wasn't being completely honest with you. I didn't expect you to believe me at first, but now, I just want to get to know you." She stared at him, trying to process what he was saying. Could this really be happening? She had barely recovered from the awkwardness of their first meeting, and now he was standing in front of her, telling her that he was interested in getting to know her better. "I don't know what you're after," she said, shaking her head. "I'm just a waitress. You don't have to do this." He stepped forward slightly, looking at her with genuine sincerity. "I know who I am, and I know the life I lead, but I want something different, something real. I think that's why I felt a connection with you yesterday. I wasn't looking for someone to impress. I was just looking for someone to talk to." Emma swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his words. It was hard to trust someone like him, someone who could have any woman he wanted. But the way he was looking at her, with no pretense, no judgment, made her second-guess everything she thought she knew. "I don't know what this is," she said, glancing at the card he had given her. "But I think I'd like to get to know you too." Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with a sense of relief. "Good. Maybe we can start over, no more secrets." He paused, then added, "How about dinner? I'll take you to a place you've never been before. Just the two of us." Emma hesitated, still unsure of everything, but something inside her told her to give it a chance. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something real. She nodded slowly. "Okay, dinner sounds nice." Liam's smile widened as he stepped back, clearly relieved. "I'll text you the details. Just give me a moment to grab my phone from the car." As he turned to leave, Emma closed the door behind him and leaned against it, her heart racing. What had just happened? She felt like she was walking into something she couldn't fully understand, but the thought of spending more time with Liam, learning about him, made her feel like she might finally be on the verge of something that could change her life. She glanced at the card again. It didn't feel like a mistake anymore. Maybe this time, things could be different. Maybe Liam could be different. Later that evening, as Emma sat at a small, dimly lit restaurant with Liam, she tried to focus on their conversation. But there was a voice in the back of her mind that kept whispering, "What does he really want from me?" She had never felt like this before, caught between the fear of being hurt and the excitement of something new, something she couldn't quite place. Liam, as if reading her mind, leaned in slightly and said, "You don't have to worry about anything, Emma. I'm not here to complicate your life. I just want to see where this goes. No pressure." She looked into his eyes, and for the first time, she believed him. Maybe this could work. Maybe they could work. For now, she was willing to take the chance. The next few weeks passed by in a blur for Emma. Her life was still the same, a constant juggling act between her job at the diner, paying bills, and dreaming of a better future. But there was something different now. Every day, she would look at her phone, half expecting a text from Liam. And sure enough, he would reach out, sometimes with a simple good morning, or how's your day going? Each time, Emma's heart would skip a beat. Despite her initial hesitation, she found herself thinking about him more and more. Liam was not like anyone she had ever met. He was kind, thoughtful, and always made her feel like she was the most important person in the room. It was impossible not to feel drawn to him. Yet, despite everything, Emma couldn't shake the doubt that lingered in her mind. What did he want with her? A woman like her, a waitress with dreams too big for her small apartment. Why would someone like Liam Parker, a tech millionaire, be interested? It didn't make sense. But whenever she questioned it, Liam would always assure her that he was in it for the right reasons. They had dinner together more often now, talking about everything and nothing. She shared stories of her childhood, the struggles her mother had gone through, and her dreams of becoming an artist. Liam listened intently, never interrupting, always encouraging. And with each passing day, Emma felt more at ease with him. One evening, as they sat on a bench in the park, the cool breeze brushing against their faces, Liam turned to her and said, "You know, I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about wanting to open your own art studio." Emma smiled shyly, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "It's a long shot, but I'll get there someday. I just need to keep working, keep pushing." Liam's expression softened, and he reached out to gently hold her hand. "You will," he said, his voice warm and steady. "I believe in you." She looked up at him, her heart fluttering at his words. It was moments like this, small yet meaningful, that made her feel like maybe she wasn't as invisible as she had always thought. As if for the first time, someone truly saw her, not just the waitress, but the dreamer, the artist, the person who longed for more. But as much as Emma wanted to believe in what they had, there was a part of her that still held back. Liam's world was so different from hers: luxurious dinners, private jets, and endless opportunities. She wondered if he even understood the reality of her life, how she had to stretch every dollar just to survive. And she wasn't sure she could ever fully belong in his world. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, Emma walked into her apartment to find a surprise waiting for her. There was a small package on the counter with her name written in elegant handwriting. She opened it carefully, finding a beautiful sketchbook, the pages thick and smooth, just waiting for her drawings. Inside the cover, there was a note. "I know this is just a small gesture, but I thought you'd like it. To inspire you to keep going. Liam." Her heart swelled at the gesture. It wasn't just the gift, it was the thought behind it. He had been paying attention, he understood. She ran her fingers over the sketchbook, feeling the weight of her dreams in her hands. It was a reminder that she didn't have to give up on them, no matter how hard things got. Later that night, Emma sat down and began to draw, her pencil gliding across the pages with ease. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was on the right path, like everything was falling into place. But just as she was starting to relax into the moment, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from Liam. "Hey, can we talk tomorrow? I have something important to tell you." Her heart skipped a beat. What could he possibly want to say? Was this it? The moment she had been dreading? She put the sketchbook down and stared at her phone, feeling a knot form in her stomach. What if this was the end? What if he was finally going to tell her that it had all been a mistake, that he couldn't be with someone like her? She tried to shake off the feeling, telling herself not to jump to conclusions, but the anxiety lingered. The next day, she met Liam at the small cafe they had frequented for their casual dates. He was sitting at their usual spot, looking unusually serious. Emma sat down across from him, her heart pounding in her chest. "What's going on, Liam?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. He took a deep breath, his eyes locking onto hers. "I need to be honest with you, Emma," he said, his voice low. "There's something about me I've been keeping from you. Something I should have told you a long time ago." Her stomach churned. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small envelope. He slid it across the table toward her. "I wanted to tell you this myself," he said quietly. "I'm not just a tech guy, Emma. I own a company, a big one. I've been trying to keep my identity under wraps, but I think it's time you knew the truth." Emma stared at the envelope, her mind racing. This wasn't the revelation she had been expecting. She hesitated before opening it, her hands trembling. Inside was a letter, a document that confirmed what Liam had just said. He wasn't just some guy from a small tech startup. He was a millionaire, a CEO, and everything she thought she knew about him was about to change. Emma sat there, staring at the envelope in front of her. Her heart was racing, her mind in a whirlwind of thoughts. Liam was a millionaire, a CEO. All this time, she had been talking to him, laughing with him, sharing stories of her struggles, and now everything seemed different. She couldn't decide whether she felt betrayed, shocked, or just completely overwhelmed. Slowly, she picked up the envelope and opened it. Inside, there were several documents. One was an official company profile, listing Liam Parker as the CEO of Parker Tech, a multi-billion-dollar technology firm. The other was a picture of Liam at an event, standing confidently next to other industry leaders. It was clear that he was not the man she had imagined. He wasn't just some quiet, down-to-earth tech guy. He was a powerful businessman with a world of responsibility. Emma felt a wave of panic rise in her chest. Why hadn't he told her sooner? Was it because he thought she wouldn't understand? Was it because he thought she wasn't good enough for his world? Her fingers shook as she put the documents back in the envelope, still processing the shock. She looked up at Liam, who was sitting across from her, his expression serious but not angry. He was waiting for her to say something. "Why didn't you tell me?" she finally asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I wanted to," Liam said, his voice soft. "I thought about it a lot, but I didn't know how to say it. I didn't want you to see me as just another rich guy. I didn't want you to think that was all I was." Emma shook her head, the confusion still clouding her thoughts. "I don't know what to think anymore, Liam. I feel like everything's been a lie. You've been hiding who you really are from me." Liam reached out, his hand resting gently on hers. "I wasn't hiding who I am. I just didn't want you to fall for the wrong reasons. I wanted you to see me, not the money, not the status. Just me." Emma pulled her hand back, feeling a mix of emotions swirl inside her. "But you should have told me. I don't know if I can trust you now. Everything's changed." She stood up abruptly, pacing the small cafe. "I don't know who you are anymore, Liam." Liam stood up too, his face etched with regret. "I never wanted to hurt you, Emma. I care about you. I want this to work, but I understand if you need space." Emma felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She hadn't expected this. She had never imagined that Liam, the man she had shared so much with, could be hiding such a big part of himself. But at the same time, part of her felt a deep longing to believe in him, to believe in what they had. But could she? Could she really look past the fact that he had lied to her? Could she trust him again? "I need time," she said quietly, the words almost a whisper. "I don't know if I can just forget this." Liam's eyes softened, and he nodded. "I understand," he said, his voice low. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready." Emma walked out of the cafe, her mind spinning with thoughts. She had always dreamed of a life like this, a life of possibility, of love, and of connection. But now, she wasn't so sure. She had to think about it, figure out what she wanted. And in the quiet of her apartment later that night, as she lay in bed, she realized something. She couldn't just push him away, not without knowing for sure that she had given herself a chance. The next few days were a blur of mixed emotions. Emma spent time reflecting on everything that had happened between her and Liam. She kept coming back to the way he had treated her, the way he had cared about her. Yes, he had kept a part of himself hidden, but wasn't that just human? Hadn't she also kept parts of herself hidden from him? She couldn't help but remember the kindness he had shown her, the way he listened to her, supported her dreams. Couldn't that be enough? One afternoon, a few days after their conversation at the cafe, Emma received a message from Liam. "Hey, I know we've had some distance, but I just wanted to remind you that I'm still here. I'm still interested in seeing where this could go. No pressure. I just want to be with you, no matter what." Emma felt a flutter in her chest. Maybe he was right. Maybe she was being too hard on him. Maybe, just maybe, she had been too quick to judge him. She stared at the message, her thumb hovering over the reply button. Was she ready to give him another chance? Was she ready to let herself trust him again? Finally, after a long moment of hesitation, she typed back, "Okay, Liam, let's talk. Let's figure this out." She pressed send, and as soon as she did, a wave of relief washed over her. She wasn't sure where things would go from here, but for the first time in days, she felt a sense of peace. Maybe they could make it work. Maybe it was worth fighting for. The days following Emma's message to Liam felt like a strange mix of relief and anxiety. She was still unsure of what would come next, but she knew one thing for sure. She wasn't ready to let this go without at least giving it a fair chance. She had taken a leap by texting him back, agreeing to meet again. But now, sitting in her small apartment, she wondered if she was making a huge mistake. What if it wasn't enough? What if the truth of who he really was something she couldn't handle? But then, she remembered the way he had made her feel when they were together. The way he listened to her dreams, how he made her feel special, like she mattered. Wasn't that worth something? The next day, Liam texted her with the details of their meetup. I know a quiet little cafe downtown. I'd like to take you there, just the two of us. Let me know if you're free. Emma took a deep breath and replied, I'm free. I'll meet you there. When she arrived, the cafe had an intimate atmosphere, dim lighting and soft music playing in the background. Liam was already there, sitting at a small corner table by the window. He stood up as she walked in, his face lighting up with a smile that made Emma's heart flutter. He was still wearing his casual clothes, the same relaxed vibe he had before, but now there was something different about him. He wasn't just a millionaire CEO. He was a man who cared about her, and that thought made her nervous. As she sat down, she couldn't help but feel the tension in the air. There was something unspoken between them, an elephant in the room neither of them seemed ready to address directly. How are you? Liam asked, his voice soft, sincere. I'm doing okay, Emma replied, taking a deep breath. I've been thinking a lot about us, about everything you said. I'm not sure what I'm looking for, or if I'm ready for this. But I do know that I can't walk away without seeing where it could go. Liam nodded, his eyes filled with understanding. I get it. I don't want to rush anything. I just want the chance to show you that I'm not the same as all the other guys in my world. I care about you, Emma, more than I thought I would. Emma smiled at his honesty. It was what she had been hoping to hear, even though it still felt like a huge leap of faith. I care about you too, Liam, she said quietly. But I need to know that this isn't just about your world and my world colliding. I need to know that you're in this for the right reasons, not because you're bored or looking for something new. Liam reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. It's not about boredom. It's about you. I want to be with you, Emma. I've never felt this way before. And I know I've made mistakes, but I want to make it right. His words hit her harder than she expected. She had always believed in love, in the idea that when you find the right person, everything falls into place. But she had never imagined this kind of love, complicated, messy, and full of uncertainty. Still, something in her told her to give it a chance. Okay, she said after a long pause, her heart pounding. Let's see where this goes. Liam's face softened with relief. Thank you, Emma. I won't let you down. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Liam spent more time together. They went on dates, had long conversations, and slowly started to peel back the layers of their lives. Emma learned more about Liam's world, the struggles he faced as a CEO, the pressure of living up to his family's expectations, the sacrifices he had made. In return, Liam listened to her stories, her dreams of becoming an artist, her fears about never making it. They shared their vulnerabilities, and it was through those moments that Emma began to see him not just as a millionaire, but as someone who was real, who had his own struggles and dreams. Still, doubts lingered in her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were from different worlds, his life of luxury and power, and hers of small victories and constant hustle. Could she ever truly belong in his world? Could they make it work despite their differences? One evening, as they walked through the city after dinner, Liam stopped in front of a small art gallery. He turned to Emma, a smile playing on his lips. I know you've been wanting to see more of this city, the art scene. I thought you might like this. Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had never expected him to remember such a small detail. She looked at him, her eyes softening. Thank you, Liam, she said quietly. You're not like I imagined. He grinned, his eyes locking with hers. I'm glad to hear that, and I'm glad you're giving us a chance. As they walked into the gallery together, Emma couldn't help but feel that maybe, just maybe, there was something real between them, something worth holding on to. But the fear still lingered. Could she let herself trust him completely? Could she let herself love him, even with all the uncertainty that came with his world? She didn't know yet, but for the first time, she felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they were on the right path. Emma had been living in a whirlwind for the past few weeks. Every day felt like a tug-of-war between her heart and her head. Liam was everything she had never expected. He was kind, thoughtful, and always showed up for her in ways that left her both amazed and uncertain. She had never thought someone like him would be interested in someone like her, a waitress with big dreams, but little in terms of financial security. Yet, every time they met, every time he smiled at her with that genuine warmth, Emma couldn't help but feel like maybe, just maybe, she was starting to believe in this connection. The tension that had built up between them, ever since she found out about his true identity, had started to fade, but it wasn't gone completely. Emma still had her doubts. She still wondered if their worlds could ever truly collide without leaving one of them behind. Liam's world was vast, full of power, wealth, and expectations. Emma's world, on the other hand, was small, simple, and filled with uncertainty. Could she ever be part of his world, without losing herself in it? That question lingered in her mind, even as she spent more time with him. One afternoon, Liam invited her to an event, a charity gala that was being held at one of the most prestigious venues in the city. Emma had hesitated at first, unsure of whether she was ready to step into that world, but Liam had insisted. "You're my date," he had said with a playful smile. "You belong there just as much as anyone else." It was the kind of reassurance she had always needed, and Emma found herself agreeing. She had spent the entire week leading up to the gala feeling like she was in a dream. She had spent hours trying to pick the perfect dress, one that would make her feel confident and beautiful. When the night finally arrived, Emma stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the dress one last time. She looked at herself, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. She wasn't used to this level of attention, this level of luxury. As she walked out of her apartment and into the waiting car, Emma's nerves were in overdrive. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest as they drove through the city, the glittering lights of the buildings surrounding her. When they arrived at the venue, Emma stepped out of the car, taking a deep breath before looking up at the grand building. It was everything she had imagined and more. The gold accents, the tall windows, the shimmering chandeliers. It was a world so far removed from her own. Liam was already waiting for her by the entrance, looking as dashing as ever in his tuxedo. When he saw her, his face lit up, and for a moment, Emma felt like she was the only one in the room. "You look amazing," he said, his voice full of admiration. Emma smiled, her nerves easing slightly. "Thanks, Liam. This is all a bit overwhelming." He chuckled and took her hand. "You'll be fine. Just enjoy the night." As they entered the gala, Emma was in awe. Everywhere she looked, there were people in elegant dresses and sharp suits, laughing and talking in hushed voices. The music played softly in the background, and waiters passed by with trays of champagne. It was everything she had imagined, and yet, she felt out of place. She wasn't used to the glitz, the glamour. But then Liam squeezed her hand, and she felt a sense of calm wash over her. He was there, by her side, making her feel like she wasn't alone. They mingled with a few of his colleagues. And as the night went on, Emma started to relax. She wasn't just Liam's date. She was a part of this world, even if it was just for one night. They danced, laughed, and shared stories, and for a moment, Emma forgot about all the worries that had been plaguing her mind. She was just a woman, enjoying the company of a man who cared about her. But then, just as she was starting to get lost in the night, something unexpected happened. A woman, dressed in a stunning red gown, walked over to their table. She was tall, elegant, and exuded confidence. She smiled at Liam, her eyes flickering with something Emma couldn't quite place. "Liam, it's so good to see you," the woman said, her voice smooth and enticing. "It's been too long." Emma watched as Liam stood up to greet her, his demeanor suddenly changing. There was a formality to his voice that made Emma feel like an outsider. "It's good to see you too, Sabrina," he replied. The woman's gaze shifted to Emma, her smile widening. "And you must be the one I've heard so much about," she said, her eyes studying Emma intently. Emma forced a smile, trying to stay composed. "I'm Emma," she said, offering her hand. Sabrina took it, her grip firm but cool. "It's nice to meet you," Sabrina said, her tone polite but laced with something Emma couldn't quite place. As the conversation continued, Emma could feel the tension building. Sabrina seemed to be paying extra attention to Liam, her eyes constantly flicking toward him. Emma could tell that there was some history there, but what it was, she wasn't sure. When Sabrina finally excused herself to get a drink, Emma turned to Liam. "Who was she?" she asked, her voice laced with curiosity and a hint of concern. Liam seemed to hesitate before answering. Sabrina was an old business associate, he said, his voice guarded. She and I worked together for a long time, but there's nothing between us anymore. Emma nodded, trying to shake the uneasy feeling in her stomach. She wanted to believe him, but something about the way Sabrina had looked at him, the way they had interacted, made her question the truth of his words. As the night wore on, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than Liam was letting on. And as much as she wanted to believe in what they had, a small voice in her mind kept asking, was she really the one for him, or was she just another chapter in his life? The days following the gala were filled with tension for Emma. Despite Liam's assurances that Sabrina was nothing more than an old business associate, Emma couldn't shake the unease that lingered in her mind. Every time she saw Liam, that moment from the gala replayed in her thoughts, Sabrina's cold smile, her lingering presence near him. Emma tried to push it aside, to trust him, but a small voice kept whispering that there was more to the story than Liam had let on. She knew she needed to talk to him about it, but every time they were together, everything felt perfect, and she didn't want to risk ruining that. It was a constant battle between her heart and her head. One evening, as they sat on a bench in the park, Emma couldn't hold it in any longer. Liam, I need to ask you something, she said, her voice quiet but firm. He turned to her, his expression open, his gaze soft. Anything, Emma. You know you can ask me anything. She hesitated, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her jacket. I know you said there's nothing between you and Sabrina, but the way you two acted at the gala, it didn't feel like nothing. There was something there, wasn't there? Liam's face went still, and for a moment, Emma thought he might pull away or deny it. But instead, he sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. I should have told you this before, he said, his voice heavy with guilt. Sabrina and I did have a history. We were involved, briefly, but it's over now. It was never anything serious, and I never should have let her think otherwise. She was always about business, and I thought I could handle it. But now, I see how it looked, and I understand why you're upset. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her, but the nagging doubt still lingered. I just want to know that I'm not just someone you're passing time with, Liam, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to believe you, but sometimes I don't know if I can. Your world is so different from mine, and I'm scared that I won't be able to fit into it, that I'll always be out of place. Liam reached out, gently taking her hand in his. You belong in my world, Emma. You're the one I want. Not because of your past or what you've done, but because of who you are. I'm not looking for someone to fit into my world. I'm looking for someone to share it with. And I want that someone to be you. Emma felt a warmth spread through her chest at his words, but the doubt still clung to her. What if I can't keep up? What if I don't belong in your world? Liam smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Then we'll build a new world together. One that works for both of us. I know it won't be easy, but I'm willing to fight for it if you are. Emma's heart pounded in her chest, the weight of his words sinking in. She wanted to believe him, to let go of her fear and embrace the chance to build something real. But the road ahead wasn't going to be simple. There would be challenges, things they both had to navigate. And Emma knew that. But she also knew that, for the first time in a long while, she felt like she was on the right path. She nodded slowly, her eyes meeting his. I want to fight for us too, Liam. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to try. I'm willing to take that chance with you. Liam's smile widened, and he squeezed her hand gently. Then we'll take it one step at a time. Together. As the days went on, Emma found herself feeling more and more at ease with Liam. They spent more time together, enjoying the little moments that made their connection feel real, walking through the city, cooking dinner together, laughing over silly jokes. She was still nervous about the future, still unsure of what it meant to be in his world, but she was learning to trust him. They were taking things slowly, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like maybe she was starting to find her place. But just as things were starting to feel right, another obstacle appeared. One evening, as Emma was working at the diner, a woman came in and sat at the counter. She was dressed in a sharp business suit, her blonde hair neatly tied back, and there was something about the way she carried herself that immediately caught Emma's attention. The woman ordered a coffee and sat quietly, but as Emma passed by her, she heard the woman say her name. Emma Brooks, she said, her voice smooth. I've heard a lot about you. Emma froze, a chill running down her spine. "Excuse me?" she said, turning to face the woman. The woman smiled, her gaze cool and calculating. "I'm Rachel from Parker Tech. I've been following your story with Liam. It's interesting, isn't it? How someone from such a humble background can end up in his world. I just wanted to see for myself what all the fuss was about." Emma's stomach churned. She knew exactly what this was about. Another test, another reminder of how different their worlds were. "I don't know what you want from me," Emma said, her voice steady despite the nervousness bubbling inside. Rachel leaned in slightly, her smile never fading. "I just wanted to make sure you're not going to get in the way of Liam's future. He has big plans, you know. And I'm not sure you're the kind of person who can keep up with that." Emma's heart raced, but she stood her ground. "I'm not trying to get in anyone's way," she said firmly. "I'm just trying to live my life and figure out what I want. If that doesn't fit into someone else's plans, then that's not my problem." Rachel's smile faltered, but she quickly recovered. "We'll see how long that attitude lasts, won't we?" With that, she stood up and left, leaving Emma standing there, her mind swirling. What was that all about? Why was Rachel so determined to make her feel like she didn't belong? Emma stood frozen in the diner, her mind racing after Rachel's cold words. She could still feel the weight of her gaze, the subtle threat that lingered in the air long after Rachel had left. It wasn't just about her relationship with Liam anymore. It was about something bigger, something more complicated. Emma had known from the start that being with Liam wouldn't be easy, but she never imagined it would come with so many tests, so many people trying to tell her she didn't belong. The thought of Rachel's words gnawed at her as she finished her shift and walked home that night. She couldn't help but wonder if Liam really understood the pressure she was feeling. It wasn't just about her. It was about the entire world she was suddenly thrust into, a world that seemed determined to keep her at arm's length. When she arrived at her apartment, Emma threw her coat on the couch and collapsed into a chair, her thoughts swirling. She pulled out her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. She had been avoiding Liam's calls all evening, unsure of what to say. What if he was just as involved in that world as Rachel made it seem? What if he didn't really want her to be a part of his life, just like Rachel had suggested? Her phone buzzed, snapping her from her thoughts. It was a message from Liam. "Hey, are you okay? I know it's been a tough day, but I'd really like to talk. Let me know when you're free." Emma stared at the message, feeling a wave of conflicting emotions. She missed him. She wanted to believe in what they had, but doubts were starting to cloud her judgment. Could she really make this work? Could she live in his world without losing herself? She took a deep breath and replied, "I'm okay. Just tired. Can we talk tomorrow?" Liam responded almost immediately, "Of course. Whenever you're ready." The next day, Emma met Liam at a cafe they had visited a few weeks ago. It was a small, quiet spot, a place where they could talk without distractions. Liam was already there when she arrived, his usual warmth and charm evident in his smile. "Hey," he greeted her softly. "I've missed you." Emma smiled weakly, sitting down across from him. "I've missed you too," she replied, but the words felt hollow in her mouth. She wasn't sure what was missing, whether it was the connection she once felt or the trust that had started to waver. "I've been thinking about everything, about Rachel, about what she said," Emma began, her voice tentative. "I don't know, Liam. I just don't know if I can fit into your world. It feels like I'm always being tested, always being judged, and I don't know if I'm strong enough for that." Liam's expression shifted, and he reached across the table, gently, taking her hand. "You don't have to fit into my world, Emma. You just have to be yourself. I've never wanted you to change, and I don't care about what others think. It's about us. I want you in my life, and I want to support you in everything you do. No one else matters." Emma looked at him, her heart aching with the sincerity in his words. It was everything she had wanted to hear, everything she needed to hear. And yet, the fear still lingered. "But Rachel," she trailed off, unsure of how to explain the weight of the doubt Rachel's words had planted in her mind. Liam shook his head, his grip tightening on her hand. "Rachel doesn't know anything about us. She doesn't know what it's like to care about someone, to actually want to be with them. She's not the one I'm with, you are. And I need you to believe that." Emma looked down at their hands, the warmth of his touch giving her a sense of comfort, but also stirring up a storm of uncertainty inside her. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that he truly saw her, that he wasn't just caught up in the idea of her. But her past had taught her to be careful, to protect herself from getting hurt. "I'm scared, Liam," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm scared that this won't last, that I'll lose myself in your world, that I won't be enough. Liam's face softened, and he reached up to gently lift her chin, making her look into his eyes. You are more than enough, Emma. You always have been. I'm not asking you to be anything you're not. I'm asking you to trust me, to take this one step at a time. We don't have to have it all figured out right now. We just have to be honest with each other and be there for each other. Emma felt a lump form in her throat as she absorbed his words. There it was again, that genuine care, that unwavering belief in her that made her feel like she could do anything. Maybe she wasn't ready to fully let go of her fears, but for the first time, she felt like she could try. I want to try, Liam, she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. I want to see where this can go. I just need time. Liam smiled, his eyes lighting up with relief. Take all the time you need, Emma. I'm not going anywhere. As they sat there, holding hands, Emma realized that maybe, just maybe, she was starting to believe in the possibility of their future. It wouldn't be easy, and there would be challenges ahead, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she wasn't walking this path alone. She had Liam by her side, and that was enough, for now. The following weeks were filled with change. Emma and Liam, taking it one step at a time, began to find their rhythm. They spent more time together, exploring the city, and having long conversations that stretched late into the night. Emma began to see a side of Liam she hadn't noticed before, his vulnerability, his moments of doubt, and his genuine care for her. It wasn't just about his wealth or status. It was about the man he was beneath it all. Despite the challenges they still faced, Emma found herself growing more comfortable with the idea of being with Liam. Slowly, she allowed herself to let go of her fears, to stop overthinking every moment, and to just enjoy being with him. She found herself laughing more, her heart lighter than it had been in a long time. For the first time, she felt like she was truly living, not just surviving. One afternoon, Liam surprised her with a visit to an art studio, a space that felt warm and inviting, filled with colorful canvases and the scent of fresh paint. I thought you might like it, he said with a grin, his hand gently brushing against hers as they walked through the studio. Emma was speechless. It was everything she had ever wanted, a space to create, to express herself. This is incredible, she whispered, tears welling up in her eyes. But why? Liam smiled softly, his eyes filled with affection. Because I believe in you, Emma. You've always dreamed of having your own studio, and I want to help make that happen. You deserve this. Emma stood there, overwhelmed with emotion. It wasn't just the studio, it was the thought behind it. The way Liam had listened to her dreams and cared enough to make them a reality. It was more than she had ever expected. She turned to him, her heart full, and said, I don't know how to thank you. This means the world to me. Liam stepped closer, his hands gently cupping her face. You don't have to thank me. Just keep dreaming, keep creating, and know that I'll be here, supporting you every step of the way. Emma leaned in and kissed him softly, the weight of their journey together lifting as they stood in the middle of the studio, surrounded by the possibilities of the future. Over the next few months, Emma poured herself into her art, filling the studio with pieces that were both beautiful and raw. Liam continued to stand by her side, encouraging her every step of the way. They faced their challenges together, from misunderstandings to the pressure of their different worlds colliding. But through it all, they never gave up on each other. They learned that love wasn't about perfection. It was about growth, trust, and being there for each other, even when the road ahead seemed uncertain. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of her apartment, Liam turned to Emma, his eyes serious. There's something I've been meaning to ask you, he said, his voice filled with emotion. Emma looked at him, her heart racing. What is it? Liam took a deep breath, his hand trembling slightly as he reached into his pocket. I've never been more certain of anything in my life, Emma. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me? Emma's breath caught in her throat as she stared at the ring in his hand. She had never imagined this moment would come, but as she looked into Liam's eyes, she knew, deep down, that she wanted this too. Yes, she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. Yes, I will. Liam smiled, his face lighting up with pure joy as he slipped the ring onto her finger. I promise to always support you, to always be there for you. and to love you with everything I have." Emma smiled through her tears, feeling a warmth fill her chest. "And I promise to never stop believing in us, no matter what comes our way." They kissed, the world around them disappearing as they held each other close, knowing that their love was strong enough to overcome anything life would throw their way. In that moment, Emma realized that she had found something more valuable than any dream she had ever chased. She had found someone who loved her for who she was, someone who saw her worth even when she couldn't see it herself. And together, they would build a life filled with love, trust, and the endless possibilities of the future.